त्वमेव बन्धुश्च सखा त्वमेव विद्या द्रविणं त्वमेव सर्वं मम देवदेव। श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तिसुदेशिकेन्द्रं द्वैपायनं सूत्रकृतं मुनीन्द्रं श्रीशङ्करं भाष्यकृतं यतीन्द्रं मद्देशिकञ्चापि नमामि विद्यै। ॐ नमो ब्रह्मादिभ्यो ब्रह्मविद्या सम्प्रदायकर्तृभ्यो वंशऋषिभ्यो महद्भ्यो नमो गुरुभ्यः। सर्वोपप्लवरहितप्रज्ञानगणः प्रत्यगर्तो ब्रह्मैवाहमस्मि। ॐ प्रपन्नपारिजाताय तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। Pranams everyone. We are doing the 16th chapter now. In the 16th chapter, Bhagavan is enumerating the Daivi Asuri Sampat. And in the first three slokas, Bhagavan had enumerated about 26 virtues that a Daivi Sampat person will have. And he also mentioned in the third sloka, basically, people who are born with Daivi Sampat will have these virtues, indicating that basically these samskaras go from birth to birth. So whatever we collect as good samskaras or bad samskaras in this janma will follow us or will be our personality in the coming janmas also. So it is important to note that whatever change we are doing is not just for this life. Whether we will have to start afresh in the next life, no, we will be carrying forward all these samskaras with us. Then from the fourth shloka, he is actually introducing the Asuri Sampat, and he gave the main characteristics of an Asuri Sampat person. And we discussed while listening to this Asuri Sampat, there are few things that we will have to note. We will have to ensure that we do not listen with a guilt feeling, because many of these characteristics would probably be very relevant to what we do in our daily life, and therefore we should not have too much of a guilt feeling on whatever we have already. A little amount of guilt is necessary to be able to overcome those, but not too much of guilt. Of course, the other end of the spectrum, where we try to justify this, should also not happen. We should not try to justify that these values is not relevant for today's life, and try to actually belittle whatever has been said. Third and most importantly, we will have to have the Shraddha and also the belief that we will be able to change ourselves with the help of Bhagavan. So with that we actually started, and we actually saw some of those Asuri Sampat gunas. We saw Dambaha basically being proud, having that feeling, showing off as the first Asuri value or Asuri Sampat. It's not even a value, it's probably a character. Then the second one is Darpaha. Darpaha is basically the equivalent of disrespecting elders. Then we saw Abhimana. Abhimana is basically equivalent of Manitvam. So both the Manitvam is now coming for the third time. Remember first Amanitvam in chapter 13 we started with Amanitvam, Adambitvam, and then in chapter 16 in this chapter itself, in the third shloka, the last value was Nati Manita. Now again Bhagavan is reminding us and says Abhimana, do not have Abhimana, do not think high of yourself, do not have this superiority complex. So he is reminding this again and again to us. Humility is very important in this journey. Not humility that we exhibit, humility in the mind. That is more important. Generally, we tend to actually show off our humility. That shouldn't be the case. That is not what Bhagavan is asking. Bhagavan is asking us to be humble within. Then Krodha. Krodha is anger. Krodha, we saw anger. Then we saw Parushyam. Parushyam basically is the roughness, basically harshness that we show towards people, especially in words, using words to hurt people. That should not be the case. We had seen so far these Asuri characteristics. Now we will go to the next one, Ajnaanam, which is the, I'll just probably read the sloka. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Dhambo Darpo Bhimanascha Krodha Parushyameva Cha Ajnaanam Chabhijatasya Arthas Sampadam Asurim. So we saw Dhambo, Dhamba, Darpa, Abhimana, Krodha, Parushyam. Now we are looking into Ajnaanam. Ajnaanam. Ajnaanam meaning ignorance. Jnanam is knowledge, Ajnaanam is ignorance. And this is actually the basis of all Asuri gunas. Ajnaanam, the ignorance thing. So when Bhagavan says ignorance, we have to understand which ignorance he is talking about. Generally, we also tell that the root of all samsara is Ajnana. And there, when we say Ajnana, it means the ignorance about the nature of oneself is the cause of all samsaras. Not samskara, samsara. Then ignorance about self. Atma Ajnana is the cause for samsara. That is what we say. Here when Bhagavan says Ajnana, he is not meaning that Ajnana. He is not talking about the ignorance about the self. Because ignorance about the self, even a Daivi Sampat person can have it. It is not only relevant for an Asuri Sampat. It is same for everyone. As long as one is not a Jnani, he is an ignorant person. So here the ignorance that Bhagavan talks about is the ignorance of between Dharma and Adharma. Dharma Adharma Vishaye Ajnana. Ashishji, you wanted to ask something?
Yeah. I want to just say so are we differentiating between ignorance and lack of knowledge?
Lack of knowledge is ignorance.
No, so if I'm making an effort but I'm not getting the knowledge, wouldn't it be treated differently than not even trying?
Okay. We are all in the spiritual path. We are trying to understand ourselves. As long as we are not there yet, we are still ignorant. We are still trying. It doesn't matter, but we are still ignorant. The question is, how close you are to the knowledge is different thing. And I'm talking purely from a knowledge of the self standpoint. Okay. A knowledge of a self standpoint, you are ignorant until you are able to understand fully with conviction that you are Brahman and you are everywhere. You are the sustainer of the entire Jagat. As long as you have not reached to that stage, we are all Ajnanis. Of course, from there we can also say you are Mumukshus. We are also Mumukshus because we are trying to become trying or doing the sadhanas to attain moksha. So we are mumukshus. We are also jignasus, as in we are trying to attain that knowledge. So you can always add jignasu to these persons, but still they are ajnanis. I hope it was clear.
Yeah, okay. I was just trying to differentiate across the scale, in terms of...
No, here the question is Jnani, Ajnani. That is how it is. There is nothing grey in between. The grey is, of course, you have these mumukshus, you have these jignasus. all those things. Of course, people who are in the spiritual path, that is where all the grading comes in, like Daivi Sampat person, Asuri Sampat person, all those grading comes there. Okay.
Yeah, so I was just thinking in terms of, Asuri Sampat being deliberately avoiding versus trying but not reaching, and the other one is just ignorant, plain and simple ignorant, not bothering only. Right?
We will go through these verses, and there Bhagavan will actually include all those in betweens as well. So we'll go through them.
Okay, thank you.
So here, when Bhagavan talks about Ajnani here, he means the ignorant people who are ignorant about what is Dharma and what is Adharma. Dharma Adharma Vishaye. They have this ignorance of which is hitam, which is good, and which is ahitam. Ahitam means which is not good, which means they don't know what is good for themselves and what is not good for themselves. This understanding or this knowledge is very important, because many a times we ourselves don't know what is good for us and what is bad for us. We know what we like, we know what we dislike. That is different from what is good for us and what is bad for us. We tend to equate whatever we like is good for us and whatever we dislike is bad for us. This is the mistake that we all do. The mistake that comes out of moha, delusion. And here, and as long as you are in moha, you are ignorant. That is called as ignorance. For example, we are addicted to something and we want it, but we do not realize the difficulty that it might lead us into. So this is a problem for all of us. Some people, they say that I know what is right, I know what is wrong. But here, we do not accept that to be the knowledge. See, some people might say, I know what is right, I know what is wrong, but I am not able to do it because I like this. I want to do what I like. If you continue to do what you like, even having that knowledge, it does not matter. You are still considered to be ignorant. Because we do not accept that knowledge until that knowledge has been converted into an awareness. An awareness, and that awareness is reflected in the transactions that we do, in the daily transactions that we do. As long as we don't do that, you still considered ignorant. Some people have even worse things. What they think is, they actually think the reverse. Actually, they think, or they mistakenly think those bad things as good for them and those good things as bad for them. There are many such instances even in our lives. If we actually go back in the past years of our life, we would be able to see that if we properly reflect, there would have been instances where we would have been of the opinion that what is bad for me is actually good for me. Especially when we were growing up, when our parents were actually telling us to do certain things, we would think they are actually doing us not any good. But over a period of time, when we actually become more mature and when we reflect, we would be able to understand that there had been times in our lives where we had taken what is actually bad to be good for us. That jnanam is called as vipareeta jnana. This is vipareeta jnana. Even today, some in our circles, if we go out, people might say, do not read, do not go to Gita class, do not go. Gita is for old people. Or even if some children wants to attend some spiritual class, they will say, why do you want to attend at this age? You should be actually going out and enjoying with your friends. Go for a movie. Enjoy your life. So these are considered to be vipareeta jnana, taking what is supposed to be good as bad and what is supposed to be bad as good. Some people say do not follow shastras. Shastras is only for the books. It is not for daily life. In the material world, these things will not work. In fact, they will even incite us to be selfish. Only selfish people can progress. Only that will take you ahead. You will have to be, the other term that they use is street smart. You will have to be street smart. So these are all considered to be vipareeta jnana. So Bhagavan talks here about that ignorance of what is considered to be dharma and adharma. Even if I know it, if I am not following it, it is considered to be ajnani. So these are the 6 qualities that Bhagavan gives for Asuri people here. He will be giving more in the coming slokas. But to start with, he says these are the 6 main qualities that describe an Asuri Sampat person. And he says, Hey Partha, Sampadam Asurim Cha Abhijatasya Asurim Sampadam. So he says, people who have Asura samskaras or people who have Asura samskaras will have these gunas. Again he is saying people who are born with these gunas are Asuri Sampat. These qualities are there in a person who are born with Asuri samskaras. Again, it also means that anything we have, we don't start in a clean slate. Some people say that all children start with a clean slate. How they grow up decides how they actually behave. Our Shastras say it differently. Our Shastra says that we are all born with some gunas to start with. And of course, the environment and the upbringing and all these things will also impact you or will also change you. But everybody comes with their own set of samskaras. So this is the 4th sloka, where Bhagavan basically introduces Asuri Sampat with these 6 qualities and says that a person born with Asuri Sampat will have generally these 6 qualities. Now in the next 2 slokas, Bhagavan is going to give the Phalam, the benefit or the outcome of Daivi Sampat and Asuri Sampat. Benefit of having Daivi Sampat and the result of having Asuri Sampat. So that he will do it in sloka number 5 and 6. After which again from 7 onwards he will get back to Asuri Sampat. So we'll go to sloka number 5. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Daivi Sampat Vimokshaya Nibandhaya Suri Mata Mashucha Sampadam Daivim Abhijatosi Pandava Daivi Sampat Vimokshaya Nibandhaya Suri Mata Mashucha Sampadam Daivim Abhijatosi Pandava. So in the first line, Bhagavan gives basically the outcome of Daivi Sampat. Gives the outcome, where will Daivi Sampat lead us to, and where will Asuri Sampat lead us to. Both of them are given in the first line itself. First line he says, Daivi Sampat Vimokshaya. Daivi Sampat will lead us to Moksha. He makes it very clear. Daivi Sampat will lead us to Moksha. Then he says, Nibandhaya Asuri Mata. Asuri Sampat will lead us to bondage. Bondage meaning it will lead us to sorrow. And then he finally uses the word mata. Mata means, mata here it is considered to be Vedas or Upanishads. Or it is known that. It is known or it is said in the Upanishads this way. It is considered, we can say. It is considered. So Daivi Sampat will lead us to Moksha. Asuri Sampat will lead us to bondage. Actually, Asuri Sampat need not lead us to bondage. Why? Because we are already in bondage. We are already in samsara. So as long as we have Asuri Sampat, it will ensure that it will keep us here, or it will make sure that we will not be able to liberate ourselves. Moksha means a contented mind. Moksha means a contented mind. I don't have any craving for anything is moksha. Bondage means a discontented mind. A mind that is always craving for something. And moksha, we know moksha is defined as what? Freedom, liberation. Liberation from what? Liberation from samsara. And bondage is, samsara is the cause for the bondage. Samsara is cause for the bondage. To get ourselves free, we need, if we get ourselves free, it is called as moksha. And Bhagavan says, for moksha, Daivi Sampat will lead us to moksha. By saying this, that Daivi Sampat will lead us to moksha, Bhagavan makes one thing more clear. One more thing is cleared now. That Daivi Sampat itself is not moksha. Some people say, you be a good man, that itself is good enough. As if to say that is the end goal in life. The end goal in life is not moksha. Of course, to start off, everybody needs to be a good person. But we should understand that that is not the end goal. So Bhagavan is making it clear that Daivi Sampat itself is not moksha. Daivi Sampat is good, but there is something better than good, and that is moksha. But remember, Daivi Sampat itself it will give us huge relief. By having Daivi Sampat itself, whatever pains or difficulties or sorrows that we go through, right? Whenever those things comes, the tamo and rajoguna will automatically leave us at that point of time. By having these Daivi Sampat. And by having this Daivi Sampat, we will always be in Sattva Guna. And when we are in Sattva Guna, the bondage caused by samsara will not impact us much. It will still be there, but it will not be as harsh as when we are in Tamo and Rajoguna. So this is, we have to understand. One, Daivi Sampat itself is not moksha. Daivi Sampat will lead us to moksha, and by having Daivi Sampat, we will be able to ensure that the Tamo and Rajoguna leaves us. Now, next question is, how will this Daivi Sampat lead us to moksha, and how will this Asuri Sampat lead us to bondage? This we'll see. See, there is a simple definition for Dharma Adharma. We talked about Ajnana, right? Ajnana, in the last sloka, we talked about Ajnana, where we said a person who does not know what is Dharma and what is Adharma. Actually, it is not that we do not know what is Dharma or Adharma. We all know it. Because anything that we do not want somebody else to do to us, we should not be doing to others. This is a simple definition of Dharma. For all someone, we don't want others to lie to us, we should not lie to others. We do not want others to hurt us, we should not hurt others. We do not want others to actually gossip about us, we should not gossip about others. It's very easy. What is dharma, samanya dharma is very easy to understand and very easy to differentiate between dharma and adharma there. But we still claim ignorance, that is another thing. So Daivi Sampat, when we say it is about not hurting others. Ahimsa is a Daivi Sampat. Not doing himsa to others, not doing himsa to self. And what is Asuri Sampat? Asuri Sampat is opposite. Asuri Sampat is basically about hurting others. Asuri Sampat person will hurt others and he will hurt himself or herself also. Now we will see how actually Daivi Sampat leads us to Moksha. What is the outcome of himsa? When we do himsa to others, what do we get? We get papa. And if we follow ahimsa, what do we get? We will get punya. So that is the first step. So by doing Daivi Sampat, we get punya. Now punya has two palams. Punya has got two palams. One is it gives joy. So people might say, I get joy when I eat an ice cream. When I have an ice cream, I feel happy. Now, the question is, how does the punya help us get this joy? Is it ice cream which gives me joy, or is it the punya that gives me joy? See, punya has to work, or punya has to work at that particular time for us to get joy. For example, it has to be probably a very hot day, and I am kind of thirsty or whatever, I have a craving, and then when I have an ice cream, I get joy. So this is where ice cream gives me joy, but it seems as if ice cream is giving me joy, but it is actually punya which is working. Say on this, if I say ice cream is actually giving me joy, if that is the case, if it is say a really cold day, or I'm in a cold place, cold weather, I feel like actually having hot tea on that day. I want something warm, hot, and somebody offers me ice cream. Will ice cream give me the joy? No. Or say if I have some fever, or I have cough and cold, will ice cream give me joy? No. Or if I have sugar and ice cream has been banned for me, will ice cream give me joy? No. So punya will have to act at that particular time for me to get joy. So punya is the one that makes us get joy from all these padarthas, all these sensory objects around me. For me to able to get joy from that, punya has to work. And punya comes out of kamya karma. Kamya karma means I act upon a desire, but I act upon in a dharmic way. And because I act upon in a dharmic way, I get punya. And that punya gives me joy. Okay, this is one phalam of punya. Now there is a second thing. Punya that comes of kamya karma is one. Then there is also a punya that comes out of nishkama karma. Nishkama karma meaning I do something without having a desire. I do a dharmic act without having an underlying desire. Kamya karma means acting out of desire. Nishkama karma an action that is not done out of desire. It is done for, say, helping others or for a welfare of the society. I do some service or I do some dharmic activity where I don't stand to gain anything out of it. I just want to do some, say, charity, Ajnaanam, whatever it is. I do some nishkama karma. What Shastra says, when we do this nishkama karma, there is a punya that is generated. And that punya will help us to get chitta shuddhi. Chitta shuddhi meaning purity of mind. For example, I do some prayer. I come and do puja on daily basis in front of Bhagavan every day. I do some japa. I do some dana. I do some tapas. I do some meditation. When I do all these kind of activities, when I do these kind of karmas, it is called as nishkama karma. And that punya that generates out of this action, these actions, gets me qualified for jnana, gets me chitta shuddhi, purity of mind. And purity of mind is necessary for me to get that knowledge of self. It helps me to become an adhikari. Adhikari means a qualified person. Qualified person to receive that knowledge, to receive Atma Jnana, to receive self-knowledge. And what does this Adhikaratvam give me? Access. So this punya will help me get Chitta Shuddhi, will help me get access to Shastras, will help me not just Shastras, a gurus who can teach these Shastras. It helps me build my intellect so that I can do vichara. I will be able to do discrimination, viveka, about what is right, what is wrong, dharma, adharma, what is nityam, what is anityam. I am able to do those kind of vicharas. This punya will help me get the time that I need for Shastra vichara. This punya will help me build interest in Vedanta, will help me build interest in Shastras. So that is how the second type of punya, the punya that comes out of nishkamya karmas. And when this punya fructifies, we get involved in vichara. So right now we are sitting and doing vichara. There is some punya of ours that is fructifying now, helping us with understanding all these concepts, having access to Shastras and all those things. And here what happens is the mind becomes an important instrument. A calm mind, a peaceful mind is really necessary for us to be able to understand Vedanta. An agitated mind will not be able to, even if we try, one of those days if we have an agitated mind, we will not be able to sit and listen to these classes. We need a calm mind, we need a peaceful mind. And what Daivi Sampat does? Daivi Sampat gives us a peaceful mind. If we have those values that have been prescribed by Bhagavan as Daivi Sampat, then we will have a peaceful mind, we will have a calm mind, we will have a pure mind, we will have Chitta Shuddhi. And with that peaceful mind, when we do a vichara, we are able to understand the concepts better, faster, quicker, easier, and we get jnana. And once we get this jnana, we'll have to convert them into jnana nishta. Once I am able to realize that I am Brahman, I should then convert that realization into my personality. It has to be my personality, it has to be reflected in my day-to-day actions. And that means I will have to get jnana nishta. And to get jnana nishta, again I need a calm mind, peaceful mind, to be able to do that nididhyasana. Again, so Daivi Sampat helps. So Daivi Sampat in this manner helps us to get moksha. It helps us to get pure mind, and Daivi Sampat helps us to get all those punyas that are needed to make us into an adhikari. And Daivi Sampat also helps us to get from a jnani to a jnana nishta. Then the next question comes, can we drop all these Daivi Sampat once we attain jnana nishta? Once the final goal is reached, do I still need to have this Daivi Sampat? Can we drop? Of course we can drop these things. Technically speaking, we can drop this. But practically speaking, it won't happen. Because instead of these Daivi Sampat being a kind of a value that we have to imbibe, it has now become the jnani's personality. It has become the swabhava of jnani to have all these Daivi qualities. So only when it is a value, it is a thing to attain, and that too with difficulty I attain it, then I can drop it. But once it has become my personality, once it has become my swabhava, I cannot hurt others. I cannot live without sharing. If that becomes my personality, if it is my swabhava, then there is nothing more to attain for me, and it becomes a natural trait. So I don't need to do any effort at all. I don't need to have any effort. I cannot get away from this also. It becomes my personality. And I will not be able to forget it also. Just like I've learnt walking at the age of 1.5. Now at age of 13, 15, I decide to say, I want to forget walking. I don't want to learn to, I want to ensure that I actually unlearn this walking habit. Is it possible? Not possible. In the same way, once this Daivi Sampat becomes the personality, it is not possible to remove it from that person. So a jnana nishta will have Daivi Sampat as his swabhava. That's why Shankaracharya in many places he says always, remember whenever Bhagavan is talking about a swabhava for a jnana nishta, a jnana nishta swabhava becomes a sadhana for a sadhaka. What is something considered natural for a jnana nishta is something that is a goal or a lakshya or a sadhana for a mumukshu, for a jignasu, for a spiritual person or a spiritual seeker. So this is what is natural for someone is a goal for some others. We have seen already when we talked about this Daivi Sampat also. Some people are born with a soft nature. So for others to become a person with a soft nature, they will have to work towards it. So for what is something swabhava for somebody could be a lakshya for another. So in the same way, what is a swabhava for a jnani is a lakshya for a mumukshu. So that is how Daivi Sampat helps us to get moksha. Now Bhagavan also says the second thing. He says Nibandaya Asuri Matha. Asuri Sampat takes Asuri Sampat, by having Asuri Sampat, it takes that person to bondage. So how do we do that? So now we'll go in the reverse direction now. What happens? Due to Asuri Sampat, we do himsa to others. And because of the himsa that we do, we get papa. And because of the papa will give us sorrows, difficulties, and it also takes away all opportunities for us. It takes away the opportunity towards to satsanga. It takes away the opportunity to shastric knowledge. It takes away the opportunities away from guru. So it basically, papa creates sorrows, difficulties, and it also takes us away from all these opportunities. And thus papa takes us away from jnana. And not only it takes away us from jnana, it also gives us pain and sorrow. And not only pain and sorrow, not only it takes us away from jnana, it also gives us an agitated mind. The mind is not calm, the mind is not peaceful. A selfish mind, a jealous mind, a proud mind will not be calm. It will always be agitated. Thereby, it will push us more and more towards bondage. In this chapter, in the coming slokas, Bhagavan will describe the kind of bondage that Asuri Sampat will have, what will be the mindset of Asuri people, where will it lead to after their death, their gati, will all be explained by Bhagavan soon. But anyway, in this sloka, in the first line, Bhagavan basically gives us what is the outcome of having a Daivi Sampat, an outcome of having Asuri Sampat. Now, when Bhagavan says that, probably Bhagavan saw Arjuna's face. Arjuna's face probably was searching for something, because Arjuna probably had a fear whether he was born with Daivi Sampat or with Asuri Sampat. Just like as we are now when we are listening to Bhagavan here. And Bhagavan is able to understand that. So Bhagavan basically wants to calm down Arjuna, wants to give comfort to Arjuna, and then therefore he says, Bhagavan says, don't worry Arjuna, you are born with Daivi Sampat. Ma shuchaha, he says, do not grieve, do not feel, do not worry. He says, Ma shuchaha. Last word, Pandava. Pandava means Arjuna, O Arjuna. Do not grieve, O Arjuna. Asi abhijataha Daivim Sampadam. Daivim Sampadam. Asi means you are. Asi means you are. Abhijataha means you are born with. Daivim Sampadam. You are born with Daivi Sampat. Hey Arjuna, do not grieve, you are born with Daivi Sampat. You are already born with all the good samskaras. You are already born with all those good gunas. So Bhagavan basically tells Arjuna in this. Here what we have to understand is, we could see it in our own lives, right? People who, if they had not studied any shastras, but they still have some good gunas, they have that good values in them, and nobody would have taught them also. How is it possible? How is it possible? Because it is their sampat, it is their wealth. It is something that they are born with. And some people, they are very short tempered. They get angry immediately. Again, why? Because they are born with it. Some people do not get angry so easily. They are born with patience. They have patience as a virtue. So we have to understand that we come with a bag. We come with a bag of values or characters that define us, and at the end of this life, we have to make the call, we have to make the choice in terms of what we want to drop and what we want to imbibe. So this is a choice that is left to us. And here Bhagavan actually tells Arjuna, you are not born with this. In fact, in Vibhuti Yoga, in one of the chapters, Bhagavan will say that he is Arjuna among Pandavas. When he actually tries to explain that he is everywhere, he is there in everything, he will describe himself as he is Arjuna among all the Pandavas. Remember, Dharmaraja is also a Pandava, and Dharmaraja is known for Dharma. He was known for following Dharma to the letter and spirit. But Bhagavan chose Arjuna as the Pandava, that he not only for two things. One, when he describes in the Vibhuti Yoga how is he as a Pandava, he chose Arjuna. Second thing, even for imparting this knowledge, he chose Arjuna. He did not choose Dharmaraja, Yudhishthira or Bhima, because only Arjuna was showing the inclination to know this jnana. Yudhishthira was focused on following Dharma, but he was not focused on Atma Jnana. We will see that in subsequent class. We talk about this when we take the second chapter, the 5 to 6, which is 230 to 330 chapter. This class, we will talk about this. Some people are only focused on the karma kanda. Some people are focused only on, as I said, be a good guy. That's enough. Some people think that is the end of life. They don't focus on what is actually moksha, what needs to be done, what is the roadmap, how do I get there, what do I need to do, what is karma yoga, what is upasana yoga, what will happen if I don't do this, what will happen if I do this. They do not have this understanding at all. And remember, even if you say to somebody, be a good guy, it's enough. The question they will ask is, what is in it for me? Why should I be a good guy? Be a good guy, it will help you. But help you what? And help you how? But I see bad guys getting better things. We will not have answers unless you have a complete understanding of the roadmap, what it actually takes you to. So Yudhishthira was actually focusing on Dharma but not focusing on Atma Jnana. But Arjuna came, surrendered. He took Krishna as Guru, Bhagavan as Guru, and then said, teach me this. And now, so Bhagavan teaches him this, and not only said that, he also says, Arjuna, do not grieve, you are born with Daivi Sampat. Now we will go to the next sloka. Sloka number 6. Dvau bhuta sargau lokesmin Daiva Asura eva cha Daivo vistarashah proktah Asuram partha me shrunu. Dvau bhuta sargau lokesmin Daiva Asura eva cha Daivo vistarashah proktah Asuram partha me shrunu. So Bhagavan basically says, he basically explains what he has done so far in this chapter, or so far in this, and what he is going to do further in this chapter. So basically taking a break to Arjuna. This is what I have done so far, this is what I am going to do from now on. And he says, I have given the explanation of Daivi Sampat so far. From now on, I will talk about Asuri Sampat, Asura Sampat. Dvau bhuta sargau lokesmin. Lokesmin, asmin loke. Asmin loke means in this world. Dvau bhuta sargau. Dvau bhuta sargau. Dvau means two. Bhuta means beings. Sargau means types. So in this world there are two types of beings. In this world there are two types of beings. And he is talking about the human beings here. Okay, two types of beings. Two types of nature. Two types of human nature, we can say. What is that? Daiva Asura Evacha. It is Daiva and Asura Sampat. And if we actually do some kind of Asura, Asu means what? Asu means prana. Asu means breath, prana. So Asura means Asu Ramanate iti Asura. Asura Ramante iti Asura. Asu Ramante iti Asura. These people only live to breathe. Their lakshya is to just to breathe. They don't want to achieve anything. As in, they want to live their life. How they live their life does not matter. They don't have any kind of principles. They do not believe in any kind of Dharma Adharma Viveka. It does not matter whether it is Dharma or Adharma. I like it. I want to live the life I want, the way I want it. Some people say, I want to live the life the way I want it. I should have the freedom to live the life that I want to live. So that is called as Asura. Asu Ramante iti Asura. Whereas Daiva means one who lives life according to knowledge, according to the intelligence. That is called as Daiva. In fact, one Sampradaya Guru, basically he says, in human mind there are two samskaras. One is called as Shastra Samskara and the other one is Swabhava Samskara. Shastra Samskara and Swabhava Samskara. Shastra Samskara is basically the impressions that we get as a result of teachings, as a result of what we hear from elders, what we listen in as Shastras, what to do, what not to do, how not to do. There is a lot of things. Shastras give a lot of those kind of guidelines. So that is called as Shastra Samskara, the impressions that we get as a result of all these teachings. Then the Swabhava Samskara. The Swabhava Samskara is basically the natural urge that we have. The Prakriti. Each person is born with a nature. Prakriti, we say. We are born with certain things. We are born with a nature, and that nature is an urge. There is an urge for this person to do certain things. So the Sampradaya Guru says, basically, when a person is able to let the Shastra Samskara win over the Swabhava Samskara, and therefore leads a life according to the Shastras, at that time he is considered to be a Deva. Whereas, if the Shastra Samskara meaning what is the right thing to do. Swabhava Samskara means what I like to do. If I let what is the right thing to do to overpower what I like to do, then I become a Deva. If I let what I like to do overpower what is the right thing to do, then I become an Asura. So this is how one Sampradaya Guru defines Deva and Asura. Every time we see something, our knowledge says, this is right, this is wrong. But then there is also the urge. I like this, I do not like this. It is a question of whether it is a food, whether it is our health condition, whatever it is. There is something which is good, and then there is something which is we like. Whenever Shastra Samskara wins, we are Deva. Whenever Swabhava Samskara wins, we are Asura. Again, Asura does not mean that one should have protruding horns in those Amar Chitrakatha stories and all. That is not, or large protruding teeth, ugly looking, doesn't matter. Asura means whenever our natural urge, whenever our likes and dislikes overpower what Shastras say, then we become Asura. So we keep changing. One moment we are Deva, one moment we are Asura. We are neither Deva 24 hours nor Asura 24 hours. Depends on the situation to situation. What we need to do is we need to look at ourselves, we need to reflect and see how long I am in Asura mode and how long I am in Deva mode. See where are the opportunities for me to convert from Asura to Deva and try to make that shift. That is one way for us to make shift to us. To say, instead of remembering all these values, I know what is right, I know what is wrong. I also know what is I like, what I dislike. Whether I am letting what is right overpower what I like or dislike is the question that I have to ask every time. So this is Daiva Asura Yevacha. Then Bhagavan says, the second line he says, Daivaha Vistarasha, Daivo Vistarashaha Proktaha. This Daivi Sampat has been taught, described by me, Vistarashaha, elaborately. In Tamil also we use Vistaram. Yes. Proktaha, Daivaha Proktaha. Proktaha means described. The Daiva has been described, Vistaraha. And then Asuram Partha Me Shrunu. Partha, O Arjuna, Shrunu, he says. Me Shrunu, listen from me. He is basically getting the attention of Arjuna. Do not lose focus. Listen now. What I am going to say is very important. Arjuna, listen. Asuram. Hear about the Asuri Sampat from now on. Beware Arjuna, you may be having Daivi Sampat for now, but understand that Asura Sampat also, so that it does not get into your personality. So whenever Bhagavan says Shrunu, it is also to get the attention, not just of Arjuna, but also from us. He says this is important. Listen, be aware, be careful about Asura Sampat. Hear from me. So with that, we complete Sloka number 6. From the next class, we will look into the Sloka number 7. Any questions, comments? Okay. If not, thank you. We'll see you next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Swasti Prajabhya Paripalayantam Nyayena Margena Mahimayishaha. Go Brahmanebhyo Shubhamastu Nityam Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.